City.
Thank you. Well, good morning, everyone. This is the first meeting of the Community and Cultural Investment Subcommittee. This subcommittee has been created by the mayor to focus on sustainability, recycling, neighborhoods, parks, arts, libraries, education, Head Start, and homelessness. And it's a real honor for me to be able to chair this committee, accompanied by amazing committee members. Thank you so much for Councilwoman Ansari and Councilwoman Stark for being here today. I know that we share a lot of these great passions. As a young mom, definitely Head Start and parks and making sure that we have great resources and programs for our children are incredibly important to me. And I know that as a council, we share the need of finding solutions to deal with the issues that we have throughout our city and helping our people that are experiencing homelessness. I know that this is a great group of people that will find solutions to continue to recommend to the city council. So thank you so much for everyone for joining. I would like to call this meeting to order. Today's date is October 6th, 2021, and the time is 10:02 a.m. We will start today's meeting with a call to the public. Are there any cards on the call to the public this morning? Thank you.
Chairwoman, there are no cards for the call to the public.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so then we will then move on to item 1, minutes of minutes of the Land Use and Livability Subcommittee meeting, May 19, 2021. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the subcommittee from May 19, 2021?
Madam Chair, since I used to chair that subcommittee, I move to approve.
Second. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Great, passes 3-0. Next on the agenda are the consent items 2 through 7. Do we have any speaker cards on these items?
Chairwoman, we have speakers for number 2 and number 6.
Perfect. So can we go ahead with the speakers first?
For item 2, we have Eva Olivas. Eva, are you on the line? Chairwoman, Eva is not on the line. Moving to item 6, we have speaker Maria Stobbs. Maria, are you on the line? Maria, can you hear us?
Yes, I'm on the line.
Please proceed.
So I wanted to know about how these funds for the libraries are reaching out to minority communities.
Chairwoman, we have Rita Hamilton here from the library, and she'll come up and give some comments on that.
Perfect, thank you.
Good morning, Councilwoman and the members of the subcommittee. These funds are a grant from the state, and we use these funds to provide more staff to go out into the community and work on early literacy skills with the public. So we use these funds to address early literacy in all of the areas of the town. So we're very focused on making sure that neighborhoods who really need more help get that help with their children.
And do you have just following up on the question that was just asked, do you have with you a list of the areas where we're focusing on?
Councilwoman, I don't have that with me at the moment, but I can certainly provide that.
That would be great so that we can address the question that was being asked. I think it's a very good question, and I trust that we're doing that. But if we could get a list of the places where we are focusing on and how we're getting out there to those neighborhoods, that would be great.
And Madam Chair, we can also follow up with the caller, Maria, as well, and make sure, because we've got her email and her phone number, so we can follow up with her as well.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Councilwoman?
in the staff report, it mentions the targeted libraries, and they appear to be in council districts 5, 7, and 8.
Perfect, thank you.
You're welcome.
Maria, does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to know like which types of communities the funds were aimed towards and like how it would help them. So that was really helpful. But is there any like insight on how the funds were allocated in the way they were?
Councilwoman, we did look at the schools in those districts and the reading levels in those districts. And so that's the indicator that we're working on is reading level for first grade through third grade. And so those are the neighborhoods and the schools that we focus on.
Any other questions, Maria?
No, thank you. Those answered them. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for calling.
Madam Chair, that was our last speaker for the consent items.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much for that. Do I have a motion to approve items 2 through 7?
I'll make that motion to approve 2 through 7.
Second? Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The motion passes 3-0. Thank you. Next on the agenda are items 8 through 11 for information only. Would anyone like to hear any information on items 8 through 11? Doesn't...
No.
No?
No, I'm fine. Thank
Okay. Next are items 12 and 13 for discussion and possible action. We will start with item 12, and Spencer Self from Human Services Department is here to talk on that item.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the subcommittee. And might I say, it is an honor to be the first presentation for this subcommittee. I know we have a very large item coming up in just a moment, so we will be brief with this item. However, we're really excited to present on our annual Community Development Block Grant Public Service and Public Facility Request for Proposal process for our 2022-23 grants. If you recall, this is the time of the year where we typically kick this process off, and so we will cover very briefly these items. This is one of the critical programs that is included in our 5-year consolidated plan and annual action plan, tied back to the third highest ranking annual action plan goal to provide public and community services that promote equity and serve vulnerable populations, including residents with special needs. With that, I will turn it over to Watson Asiason, our Deputy Director who oversees our grant section, with further details.
Good morning, Madam Chair, subcommittee members. Thank you for having us to present on our public service and public facility RFP process. So the CDBG RFP process for the Public Service Public Facility Program provides an opportunity for nonprofits to apply for funding to implement facility improvements and deliver critical programs and services that serve low and moderate income residents in Phoenix. As Spencer mentioned, the program funding priorities are reflective of, again, the 5-year consolidated plan, our annual action plan, and feedbacks from residents and neighborhood leaders, and our mayor-appointed Community Development Review Committee. We estimate approximately $380,000 of our 22-23 CDBG allocation will be available for our public services and approximately $480,000 for our public facility RFP. The exact amount for both allocations won't be released by HUD until the springtime. And so, but just so everyone knows, we're typically able to award about 12 to 14 public service proposals and around 3 to 4 public facility proposals each year based off of our standard funding levels. So we recommend continuing with the same broad range of categories for the public facility activities. Eligible activities agencies can propose under public facilities includes acquisition, construction, rehabilitation, and ADA modifications. Under our public service category, the priority areas the city routinely hears from our residents they would like to see continued investment in include youth services, senior support services, and support services for persons with disabilities. An interesting note, youth services is the RFP category that we see the majority of our proposals submitted under. For example, this last round, we received 30 applications under our youth category out of the 42 in total. So staff is recommending subcommittee recommend maintaining all 3 for the 22-23 RFP process. Now this slide provides an anticipated timeline for our RFP process. So we're currently requesting subcommittee and council approval to issue the RFP. We hope to issue the RFP by late November 2021. We'll have the RFP open for at least 30 days. We'll close the RFP, conduct our review and evaluation process from January to April with the Community Development Review Committee, and then return back to subcommittee and city council in about April, May of 2022 for recommended contract awards. With that, I'll hand it over back to Spencer to provide some closing comments.
Thank you, Watsna. With that, we request the subcommittee approval for our public service and public facility RFP process.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. And I think, Spencer, I was thinking I was sending you to a different department by saying that you were in human services, but you're our director for neighborhood services. Sorry about that.
No offense at all. We love our human services department. It would be an honor to work there as well.
Perfect. So this is item 12, 22-23 Community Development Block Grant Public Service and Public Facility Request for Proposals. So with that presentation, do any of my fellow committee members have any additional questions on item 12?
Just one question, Madam Chair.
Yes, go ahead, Councilwoman.
Spencer, I'm just curious, how many, and sorry if you already mentioned this, but how many organizations do you anticipate you'll be able to support with these numbers?
That's a great question. Thank you, Councilwoman Ansari. Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee, so typically each year, it depends on the funding that we do have available. We usually find that out at near the end of the year when HUD releases their allocation to the City of Phoenix for our community development block grant funds. But I believe last year, or in a typical funding year, we can fund around, 14? What's that? 12 to 14 public service awards and about 3 public facility awards.
Okay, wonderful. And those were obviously spread throughout the city of Phoenix.
Absolutely.
Great. Thank you.
Any other questions? And I'm assuming there's no cards to speak on this item?
Madam Chair, that is correct.
Okay, so with that, can I get a motion to approve item 12?
I motion to approve item 12.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Great, thank you. Passes 3-0. Now we will have Spencer speak on item 13. Rental Rehabilitation Program Projects Awards.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We will continue to be brief with this item. However, there is another exciting item related to our community development block grant funds that ties directly into the Housing Phoenix plan. Last spring, we received council authorization to expand our rental rehabilitation program to help with the city's goal of creating and maintaining affordable housing. And today we have our first recommended award from that process. And with a quick refresher on the program and specific details about the project, I will turn it over to Kimberly Dickerson, our Deputy Director over our Neighborhood Revitalization Division.
Thank you, Spencer. Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee. The Rental Rehabilitation Program's financial assistance is funded with Community Development Block Grant dollars, as Spencer mentioned. Financial assistance is delivered through a no interest, no payment forgivable loan to complete property improvements. As a reminder, the terms of the loan include a 10-year affordability period, which is secured by a lien and requires reserving at least 51% of the units for persons at or below 80% area median income. Following HUD fair market rent levels, and for the first year, rent increases are prohibited. Our rental rehabilitation program not only addresses neighborhood blight, but also supports the city's Housing Phoenix plan by preserving existing and creating new affordable housing options for low and moderate income individuals. As Spencer noted, the rental rehabilitation program is used to preserve housing structures through health and safety enhancements to improve living conditions for some of our most vulnerable residents. Let's get into a wonderful project that highlights the program's ability to positively impact Phoenix neighborhoods. I'm extremely excited to present our first project with you this morning. While this is just one project, we've received a lot of interest in the program since its launch. This property is located at 2912 East Rozier Road, which is situated just east of 24th Street between Broadway Road and Southern Avenue. All units of this triplex are currently occupied by low and moderate income tenants. At up to $40,000 per unit, this property could be eligible for up to $120,000 to improve its habitability. The final scope of the property's enhancements will be determined post-award following a thorough property inspection. At the bottom of this slide, you'll see an interior and exterior picture of the property. The bottom left is an image of one of the unit's ceilings with some evidence of water damage. And to the right of that image is a picture of the rear of the property from the alleyway, which shows unit access and tenant parking areas. If awarded, some areas of interior improvements identified include energy efficiency enhancements, electrical, plumbing, and structural upgrades. Rehabilitation will also be able to address neighborhood blight through exterior improvements to the property by addressing items such as roof, parking areas, and security lighting. The property does have a dedicated maintenance person for all inspections and preventative maintenance needs, which will support the neighborhood preservation code compliance and ensure property improvements are maintained. Awarding this project will help address neighborhood blight through the proposed exterior improvements and also improve the quality of interior living conditions for current and future low and moderate income tenants.
Thank you, Kim. And with that, we request the subcommittee approval or recommend approval to the City Council for our first expanded rental rehabilitation project. And we're happy to answer any questions you may have.
Do any of my fellow committee members have any additional questions or comments?
Madam Chair?
Yes, Councilwoman Stark.
It's actually a comment. I think this is a great program. I think we're off to a great start. I'm very excited, and I hope to see a lot of success in the future.
Anyone else? Again, I just want to echo what Councilwoman Stark said. I think this is going to be great. I think that having people at home for a year and a half, I know that a lot of these homes have had a lot of wear and tear by having children at home and family working from home. So being able to help people is something that is very exciting, and that we'd be able to provide them with some help. So with that, we don't have anyone to speak on this item. Anyone from the public?
No speakers on this item, Madam Chair.
Perfect. So with that, can I have a motion to approve item 13?
I'll move to approve per staff recommendation.
Second.
Great. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes 3-0. Item 14 is for information and discussion. We will have presentations from multiple city departments, and we will start with Deputy City Manager Gina Montes. Following staff's presentation, we will hear comments from the community members. We have several speakers signed up to speak today. Then we will go to committee questions and discussion. This item is for information and discussion only today. In item 14, strategies to address homelessness, plan update.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the subcommittee. Today, we're going to provide an update on the implementation of the strategies to address homelessness plan. Presenting with me today are Titus Matthew, Housing Director, Marshall Franklin, Human Services Director, and Spencer Self, Neighborhood Services Director. I also want to acknowledge Lisa Glow with Central Arizona Shelter Services, Cass, who's in the audience in the event there's questions when we get to discuss Project Haven. In partnership with the City Council, the community, and service providers, we progressed in the plan implementation, piloted new services, deployed funding to providers, and worked on the regional planning process. Federal funding, as a result of the pandemic, has provided significant funding to address priorities, in addition to ongoing funds approved by Council in the current budget. Today, we will provide a recap of the plan areas of focus, an update on the work of the Strategies to Address Homelessness Task Force, information on the Housing Phoenix Plan, highlights on new programs and specialized facilities, and an update on the regional plan and initiatives. The investments and services form a significant collective effort to address homelessness. Following Council direction in 2020, staff began developing a plan to address the issues of homelessness. It was finalized nearly a year ago with the direction to create a task force to guide the implementation of the plan and encourage community support. The plan includes strategies in several areas that factor into people becoming homeless. It seeks to address the barriers to accessing and maintaining housing, including providing services through outreach, mental health factors, employment barriers, and the range of housing needs. The plan includes strategies to address neighborhood impacts, such as cleanups related to encampments and other issues. It also includes communication and education of the public on the causes of the problem and myths surrounding those experiencing homelessness. And last, the plan includes strategies on statewide policy changes and data needed to plan, evaluate, and improve services. The Strategies to Address Homelessness Task Force began its work in January of this year, and it includes 18 members who are service providers, housing experts, mental health providers, and community leaders. The group has strong expertise in the strategy areas of the plan, and they're committed to making an impact. I want to acknowledge the many hours the task force has spent and the tremendous value of their involvement. The task force has prioritized strategies and also is providing additional approaches that will improve outcomes. The task force continues to work through the complex issues and are formulating recommendations in each area in addition to overall guiding the city's work in this area. Some of the major themes include citing services and shelters throughout the city so that the community as a whole is sharing in the responsibility of providing services. There has been discussion on street outreach, best practices, and developing meaningful metrics to evaluate and improve effectiveness of services. Permanent supportive housing and the need for funding and vouchers is another area of importance. Providing guidance on shelter operations to encourage trauma-informed care has been a topic of importance. And finally, support for the neighborhoods surrounding shelters and services has emerged as an important priority. These are just a few highlights of what has been a robust and productive discussion, and their work has not concluded yet. We're still proceeding. So we will continue to facilitate the task force as they complete their recommendations and plan on bringing them forth to the City Council this year. The task force has also reviewed the Housing Phoenix plan, as the availability of affordable and permanent supportive housing is a critical piece to address homelessness. I will turn the presentation over to Titus Matthew to discuss the Housing Phoenix plan.
Thank you, Gina. Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the subcommittee. As a recap, the Housing Phoenix plan, approved by Council last year, has a goal of preserving or creating 50,000 homes by 2030. Major component of the Housing Phoenix plan was the completion of a gap analysis. This gap analysis revealed that Phoenix has a need of 163,000 homes, additional housing units. Of that, 99,000 would need to be affordable and subsidized for households with lower income levels. This number includes 2,300 for unsheltered persons experiencing homelessness. The strategies to address homelessness task force identified several items from the Housing Phoenix plan of interest to them relevant to addressing homelessness. While staff will continue to work with the task force, the following are a few Housing Phoenix plan updates on the Permanent Supportive Housing Initiative. The Landlord Incentive Program, approved by City Council, approved $1 million of federal American Rescue Plan Act funds to replenish funds for the Housing Department's Landlord Incentive Program. The city originally used CARES funding to establish its first Landlord Incentive Program, which offers $500 incentive payments for each housing assistance payment contract for new and returning landlords. Since the program's inception, we have retained 999 landlords and attracted 127 new landlords, which was a first and a significant milestone for the program. In addition to that, the city was awarded $21 million in Home Investment Partnership Program funds, or Home ARP funds, to help provide housing, shelter, and services for specific eligible populations. In the next several weeks, staff plans to conduct 4 listening sessions among community stakeholders regarding the use of these funds. In addition to that, the Housing Department received 390 emergency housing vouchers from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, or HUD. These vouchers assist individuals and families who meet specific criteria, including experiencing homelessness or at risk of experiencing homelessness. Referrals for these vouchers are made by the coordinated entry through a partnership with the Maricopa Association of Governments Continuum of Care. As of today, we have received 88 referrals from the Continuum of Care. At this time, I'm turning the presentation over to Marshall Franklin, Human Services Director.
Thank you, Titus. Good morning, Madam Chairwoman and subcommittee members. Recognizing the need to increase support for homeless initiatives within the downtown area, in terms of service enhancements that we want to highlight, a team dedicated to downtown efforts was created, and the following positions and services are included. A neighborhood specialist based in our Neighborhood Services Department, as well as a full solid waste team to provide street cleanups around the Human Services campus. In rounding out this team, in terms of enhancing the services for our downtown area, is the addition of 6 new Community Bridges, Inc. navigators who will focus solely on outreach and engagement within our downtown area. Related to new homelessness services, the city will be contracting with local nonprofits for a pilot outreach program for individuals experiencing homelessness along the Salt River Project canals and other areas of our city. This program will also include, as you may recall from the council vote several weeks ago, a Phoenix Works program, which will pay those same individuals to conduct cleanups and landscaping duties throughout our city. Specific to mental health, our city receives significant feedback from our community about the need for increased access to mental health services for all our residents. And again, based upon council vote from several weeks ago, the city will be contracting with local healthcare providers to provide mental health, substance abuse, and other services that address physical health. This will also include using community-based outreach teams to connect residents to those services. Heat maps, as an example here, which identify high-pocketed or high-target areas, will be used to determine where is the greatest need for these services. And finally, this particular program will include screening residents for Medicare eligibility, which in Arizona is the Access Program, and assistance with applying for benefits. While not focused solely on those experiencing homelessness, but related to the mental health strategy in the homeless plan, as mentioned by Deputy City Manager Montez, the city will be expanding its civilian-based community assistance program. This program provides crisis response connections for residents in need of mental health services. Other new services I'd like to highlight include earlier this year, using Emergency Solutions Grant funds, 10 agencies were awarded contracts to expand emergency shelter beds, street outreach, rapid rehousing, and homelessness prevention. And finally, relative to a program that we had that has since concluded under our housing and shelters function is Project Haven 1. In an effort to provide specialized services, the city opened up a temporary shelter from June of 2020 until September 31st of this year, and it is known, as I mentioned, as Project Haven. This was a partnership between the city, Central Arizona Shelter Services, and a local hotel, where we were able to house our seniors and those most vulnerable to contracting COVID-19. Services on site included case management, health care, meals, and laundry service. During the 15 months that Project Haven 1 was open, we were able to serve 232 individuals, totaling over 28,300 bed nights, with clients being placed into various housing options, including rapid rehousing, permanent supportive housing, and assisted living facilities. I will now turn the presentation over to Neighborhood Services Director Spencer Self.
Thank you, Marshall. In response to City Council direction to expand the availability of shelter beds to help reduce the spread of the COVID-19 pandemic, the Neighborhood Services Department released a request for proposals for up to $14 million of CARES Act Community Development Block Grant funds for the expansion and improvement of homeless facilities to increase availability of overnight beds within the city of Phoenix. Individual grant awards were limited to $4 million, and all projects were required to be completed by the end of June 2023. The City Council awarded 2 responsive proposals, including a proposed Community Bridges, Inc., or CBI project, which I will discuss in just a moment, and the Central Arizona Shelter Services, or CAS, proposal for Project Haven 2. CAS requested $4 million of CDBG CV funds for the acquisition of the Phoenix Inn, located approximately at the I-17 in Northern. The proposal promised up to 200 new emergency shelter beds in Northwest Phoenix and would serve clients experiencing homelessness over the age of 55, including senior couples, as well as parent and adult-child pairs, which many shelters are not able to accommodate. Included in the council action to approve this project, Madam Chair's motion also directed staff to require in the contracts for CAS to create an advisory committee with a minimum of 50% community member participation and pre-approved by city staff, as well as requiring CAS to hold community meetings prior to the public hearing for a required use permit. While CAS has not yet finalized their advisory committee, they have actively been working with neighborhood leaders to ensure the project includes elements that would help ensure the safety and security of their customers and have a positive impact on the surrounding community, including during their 2 community meetings prior to their September 23rd hearing where their use permit was approved. As a condition of the approval, the hearing officer stipulated terms CAS and the community developed together, including reference to a good neighbor agreement between CAS and the neighborhood. In addition to Project Haven 2, the City Council awarded up to $4 million to Community Bridges, Inc., or CBI, to help with the acquisition and facility improvement costs for a small new emergency shelter bed facility focused on single adults experiencing homelessness. CBI targeted the Sunny Slope area as the area of focus for the facility based on the need they see in the community. At the time of the proposal, they had not identified a specific location, but projected their search to be completed sometime this month in October. And I know they've been working with the community, potential partner nonprofits, and city staff to identify a viable site and describe their projected plan. After the $4 million awarded to CAS for Project Haven 2 and the $4 million awarded to CBI, $6 million remains of the original $14 million of CARES Act Community Development Block Grant funding available for shelter facility requests for proposals. Staff are now working on possible options to bring back to the subcommittee as early as next month, which could include options such as a new RFP to increase shelter bed availability in Phoenix, and we could possibly handle that as an open RFP with periodic evaluations of submitted proposals rather than a closed time period that can be limiting for folks who are interested in submitting. We could also fund proposals submitted under the Human Services Department's CARES Act Emergency Solutions Grant RFP for homeless services that were recommended for award but were not funded due to a lack of available funding. Also, we could fund a new nonprofit facility RFP for heating and cooling upgrades to prevent the spread of communicable diseases, or other CDBG CV eligible public facility projects or public services. I will now turn it over to Titus to provide an update on a wonderful project for our veterans that I know is very important to our City Council.
Thank you, Spencer. Many of our veterans are vulnerable and facing homelessness due to living conditions, age, and chronic health complications that were amplified during the pandemic. Therefore, the City Council approved funding to support the United States Veterans Initiative, or the US Vets. City Council approved the voluntary acquisition and sale or lease of a vacant hotel to US Vets located within Council District 1. Recently, an operating lease was executed between the city and the US Vets, and the US Vets officially took possession of the property on August 1st. Over the next 6 months, the US Vets will be performing all needed renovations and updates to the property, installing kitchenettes, remodeling a commercial kitchen, and completing ADA and security upgrades. Once all renovations are completed, in addition to providing a stable housing for veterans and their families, supportive services such as case management, job skills, development, and other services will be offered on site. At this time, I'm turning the presentation over to Gina Montez, Deputy City Manager.
Homelessness is a regional issue and is not limited to the City of Phoenix boundaries. The city's plan calls for collaboration with the state of Arizona, Maricopa County, our neighboring cities, nonprofits, and the private sector to address homelessness. City staff have been engaged for the past year in the Maricopa Association of Governments' effort to create a regional response to homelessness, which is now in the final planning stages. MAG's effort has included active participation of its member jurisdictions and stakeholders. The effort included the review of local and regional data to inform the plan. Short and long-term strategies were presented to the Regional Council and approved before the summer. And over the summer, MAG has led the development of a tactical plan, which will be presented to the MAG Regional Council later this year. While still being finalized, the major themes include communities committing to work regionally on the issue, increasing safe housing options, and supporting partnerships. It's a very detailed plan, and as it's finalized, I'd be happy to share additional information about that regional plan. In addition to the regional planning process, other communities and organizations have implemented or are in development of new services and transitional housing for those experiencing homelessness. I have a few examples here to share with you. The Surprise Housing Support Center will provide temporary housing and a resource center which will assist with finding permanent housing, public benefits, employment, and other services. The City of Tempe is in the process of purchasing a hotel for conversion into transitional housing for people experiencing homelessness as they work with the residents to identify permanent housing. They plan on redeveloping for additional additional affordable housing at that site. The City of Glendale has funded CAS to operate a central hub which provides services for those experiencing homelessness. The Cass, Norton, and Ramsey Social Justice Empowerment Center houses approximately 14 partners providing health and behavioral health services, employment services, and a myriad of other programs to assist people to leave their homelessness situation. The last example is the New Freedom Center, a behavioral health campus, which provides clinical treatment, case management, workforce development, and family reunification. This center has a focus on substance abuse and individuals reentering society from incarceration and is a private effort. Madam Chairwoman and members of the subcommittee, while there's much work to do, there's significant progress in implementing the plan over the past year. With City Council direction and support, partnerships, and the collective expertise of the task force, the city staff will continue to implement the plan and refine the strategies to improve outcomes for people experiencing homelessness. And this concludes our presentation, and we're available for questions and discussion.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that, Gina. It was really great, very thorough, a very good presentation. And I know a lot of my colleagues must have a ton of questions for you guys. It's a lot to digest. But can we please go to the speakers first, and then we can enter into a discussion?
Yes, our first speaker is Jeff Spellman. Jeff, are you on the line?
I am.
Excellent. You may proceed.
Okay. Good morning, Councilwoman Guardado and other members of the City Council and staff. I'm Jeff Spellman with the Violence Impact Project Coalition, and I am actually a member of the City Manager's Task Force on Homelessness. So as Gina mentioned, we've been spending a lot of hours going through the council-approved strategy on addressing homelessness, and we've all learned a lot in this process. The one thing that I want to really focus on is one of the key recommendations of council, and that is moving toward a model of supporting the smaller specialized shelters in Phoenix. And the neighborhood where I live at, near I-17 in Northern, is actually going to be the location of the first smaller specialized shelter in Phoenix. The community is actually very excited about this. It shows that our community is willing to be part of the solution and not just push the problem onto other neighborhoods. There was a lot of work done, negotiation, months and months of meetings and discussion with city staff and CAS about this project to make sure that this was going to be a successful project. What's not really told in this report is the additional work that's been done to create a public safety and blight mitigation plan for the area around Project Haven. Gina and the councilwoman have spent a lot of time creating this, but for the community, this is really key because this facility is located in an area of very high concentration of crime and drug activity. This is very important to make sure Project Haven is and does become the model for smaller specialized shelters. So understanding that there's a lot of work yet to be done in implementing such a plan and expanding the smaller specialized shelters, I think it's remiss in moving forward the CBI shelter until we have a proven model and that CBI actively engages the community. It says they've talked to the community, but they really have done very little to date. So maybe we need to consider placing a halt or a pause on the CBI contract kind of until they can get their act together. 30 days from now is not an appropriate time frame for selecting a site location, and we as a community have had virtually no communication
Can you wrap up your
from
comments,
CBI.
please?
Okay, I'm done. Thank you very much.
Our next speaker will be Eva Olivas. Eva, are you on the line? Eva is not on the line. Our next speaker will be Bill Moreland. Bill, are you on the line? Bill is not on the line. Our next speaker will be Caroline Lobo. Caroline, are you on the line?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. You may proceed.
Okay, great. Madam Chair and members of the committee, thank you for having me speak today. I'm also a member of the Homelessness Task Force, and as Jeff said, we've had a tremendous amount of success discussing the various issues as it relates to the neighborhoods, as well as our folks that are experiencing homelessness. So I want to applaud you for that effort. I wanted to shine the light on the Hatcher Road corridor, which has been an issue with a lot of homeless people hanging out there because they come to the dining hall on 10th and Hatcher for services. Our group, which is the Hatcher Urban Businesses, has been meeting for the last 3 years, trying to find ways in which we can help resolve this issue of congregation on streets and affecting our businesses. Just to highlight what is happening in Sunny Slope, we have over 20 social services, halfway homes, rehab centers, dining services, transitional housing, and that has been in existence for over 20 years, I want to say. And our community has had enough. How much is enough for our community to continue to have these services? We've become a services corridor or a services community of sorts. This is not equity. And I believe that every one of us living in this community needs to have a fair share of quality of life. We are way past that point where we continue to get more and more of these social services instead of some new uses in our communities. Our board members and several of our community leaders have spent thousands and thousands of community volunteer hours trying to bridge the gap between services and economic development. We all know that economic development and education is really key to uplifting any community. We are at that point. We want to change the status quo. CBI has not reached out to us yet, to our entire community. We would love to have the opportunity to engage and see what is best for our community. So I would request that we do not have another shelter in Sunny Slope. We talked about a shelter in the northwest part of Phoenix, but not Sunny Slope, and I hope you would oblige. Thank you again for your time.
Our next speaker is Cynthia Graber. Cynthia, are you on the line?
Good morning, Madam Chair and other distinguished members of the Community and Cultural Investment Committee. My name is Cynthia Graber. I am a fourth-generation native, and my family has lived in Sunny Slope since the 1950s. Sunny Slope was a self-sufficient community. The businesses were strong and supported by the community. Through the years, many government decisions have adversely affected the neighborhoods and businesses of Sunny Slope. In the last 3 years, a committee was developed to work on a plan to move St. Vincent de Paul from Sunny Slope to a larger location in the northwest part of Phoenix. COVID hit and conversations ended. At no time during these meetings with neighborhood leaders, nonprofits, and city council members and staff was there ever a discussion about placing a shelter in Sunny Slope. Sunny Slope does not need a shelter. Sunny Slope needs more and improved housing. The community of Sunny Slope is strong. It needs for government and nonprofits to move out of Sunny Slope and let Sunny Slope community and businesses grow and prosper and rebuild the community it was before government and nonprofits were involved. Absolutely no to a CBI shelter in Sunny Slope. Thank you very much for your time.
Our next speaker is Nadine Aloria. Nadine, are you on the line?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can. You may proceed.
Oh, great. All right. Hello, Madam Chair and committee members. My name is Nadine Aloria. My family has been in business on Hatcher Road in Sunny Slope for 46 years. 32 of those years have been on Hatcher Road. We're a few streets down from the St. Vincent de Paul Soup Kitchen. We're hardworking business owners and also work hard to improve our area. I have toured the St. Vincent Watkins location, and the work they do there is amazing. It's life-changing. Unfortunately, the soup kitchen on Hatcher brings continual people roaming the streets between meals, and it hurts the business community and our hiring ability and even getting new customers. I have no idea how a family or a single woman with kids manages to walk down to the soup kitchen on 10th Avenue. We absolutely cannot have another shelter or service provider in Sunny Slope. This has not proven successful for decades. We are at our absolute maximum of service providers in Sunny Slope, and other areas really need to share the service providers equitably all around Phoenix, not just in Sunny Slope. CBI has not reached out to the community leaders in Sunny Slope at all. The St. Vincent de Paul Soup Kitchen needs to move to a location that has room to also provide wraparound services. We are now just weeks away before the time frame expires to decide on a location. Please do not approve this location in a hasty last-minute decision. This needs to be done right the first time. I really sincerely appreciate all of the hard work that the Community Homeless Task Force has done. Those volunteers are amazing, and it really takes a community engaged to work on these matters. And I'm very proud to say, in Sunny Slope, we do that. And I appreciate everyone's time today in hearing us on this subject. Thank you very much.
Madam Chair, that was our last speaker for this item.
Great, thank you. Thank you to all the speakers for signing up and staying engaged on all of these issues. Council member comments? Councilwoman Stark?
Madam Chair, thank you. I appreciate all the hard work staff has done. I do really want CBI to start reaching out to the community. I think it's vital. And I want to thank the task force as well. We had a couple of speakers on today, and they're doing amazing work. And I appreciate everything they are going to continue to do for us. I just had a question about the community assistance program. And it looks like we're going to get a deeper dive into it, but do we actually have a timetable for implementation? I don't know who would answer that one. So I think it's out of fire, right?
Yeah, Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee, we do have somebody here that we expect Ginger Spencer, Deputy City Manager Ginger Spencer's here, because this committee isn't really where the full thing comes, and they're still working through some details, but she can give you an update on where they're at. So Ginger Spencer's here.
That's all I'm looking for.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep. Ginger's here.
Okay, Madam Chair and Councilwoman Stark and subcommittee members. So in response to that question, we are working very hard to work on the implementation of the expansion of the CAP program. On October 26th, we are prepared to come forward to City Council at that time at the policy session. And at the policy session, we are going to give a detailed update on our efforts, which will include the timeline for implementation moving forward.
Perfect, thank you. I'm very excited about expanding this program. I think it's going to really help address the issue of mental health. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Councilwoman Ansari?
Thank you, Madam Chair. A couple of comments. I also wanted to echo Councilwoman Stark in thanking the entire team, the task force, for all of your efforts in helping to address this important crisis. It obviously affects District 7 with the Human Services Campus and all of the service providers, but the city as a whole. My team and I have been engaging deeply on this issue, having met both with service providers in and around the campus, but also with the surrounding neighborhoods. And I think based on the presentation today and all of the various conversations I've had, I think it's my belief also that smaller, more specialized facilities throughout the city of Phoenix and the region as a whole are the most effective. So just want to applaud the success of Project Haven. Very exciting to see that 67% of the participants exited the program into positive housing placement. And I also want to applaud Councilwoman Guardado. I know there's been a lot of work that's gone into Project Haven too. And I think all of those community meetings are very important. Also want to applaud the efforts to provide stable housing for veterans. Our partnership with and support of U.S. vets is so incredibly important, and the opportunity for increasing their capacity to provide permanent supportive housing will be such a key element in our efforts to combat homelessness. So I think all of these smaller, more specialized facilities are great. And I guess leading into a question, probably for Spencer, but I think really for anyone, you mentioned that we have $6 million left and other facilities were part of the options. I'm curious to hear from you whether you have a preference, or based on all of the work that you all have done, whether there's something that you think would be most effective for us to spend these funds on. I guess for me, I know that mental illness is a big issue. Addiction is a big issue. So I'm wondering if we've looked at all into perhaps a smaller facility somewhere else in Phoenix where we could address those issues in particular. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Councilwoman Ansari. To answer your question in terms of our preference, with the Neighborhood Services Department, we know that there is a lot of need out there in the community. As you mentioned, there are some specific needs, and especially in specific areas of the community where those needs are even greater. And so we would support any action the council would take. Over this next month, what we want to do is meet with each one of our council members and talk to you a little bit about these options and what we may be able to do. As I mentioned before, there are a couple of items that were proposed through the Human Services Department's Emergency Solutions Grant RFP. And we'd like to talk to you about what those are and what we may be able to do with these CDBG funds, as well as potential other options that you can consider.
Madam Chair, Councilwoman Ansari, if I could, we hope to bring an item forward to in more detail on this particular item after we have discussions with you for the next subcommittee meeting or a future subcommittee at the pleasure of the chair.
Thank you. And just a quick follow-up question, if that's okay. For my own knowledge, do any of these, like whether it's Project Haven 1 or any of these other facilities, are there wraparound services that deal with addiction issues?
Madam Chair and Councilwoman Ansari, this is Marshall. I'll try to answer that. So as it relates to the services that we funded earlier this year through Emergency Solutions Grant funds, yes, 2 of those do include services that are supporting substance abuse and mental health. As it relates to Project Haven 2, the new shelter coming up, my understanding is, and we can confirm that there will be some services provided to support those who may be needing to address substance abuse and mental health services.
And if I could, Madam Chair, Councilwoman Ansari, for Project Haven 2 specifically, that facility, if someone is experiencing those issues, that would likely not be the correct placement for them. And so Project Haven 2, as people have those issues, they'll be screened, and those who need the substance abuse services in that population will be connected with other appropriate services. But for that particular site, my understanding is that it is not, if you have those substance abuse issues, that wouldn't be the place for you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. I actually have a couple of questions for Lisa Glow. Is she still there?
Madam Chair, she is, and she's coming to the table now.
Great, thank you. And again, I also want to thank everyone for putting this plan together. I know that there's been a lot of neighborhood outreach as we're trying to figure out how do we do the smaller specialized facilities, and how is it that we do things a little bit different. So I do want to thank Gina and everyone else on the team for all the hard work that you guys have done to pull this together. Lisa, thank you so much for joining us. Can you walk us through a little bit, just because I know that the biggest thing I heard from Jeff Spellman and a lot of the other neighborhood leaders was just the community piece, like how we get, how is it that we show the community around us we care about what they think, that we care about having their input. Can you walk us through a little bit the process that you went through when it comes to community engagement and how we got the community leaders are in that area involved, and what was the response from the neighbors in that area for Project Haven 2?
Thank you so much, Councilwoman, and you were a very big part of that, I will say. With Project Haven 1, we brought neighbors to tour the first Project Haven and see how the model was really operating and what it was like in a neighborhood. And that one-on-one ability to see a facility sheltering seniors that in a closed campus model was a big part of the process. But we've been working on the issue of specialized populations for a few years for working with seniors. So it was not overnight. It was building an understanding in communities of the needs of the seniors, and we knew there was more amenability to have a shelter for seniors. Craig Tripkin, who's not able to be here today, was a big part of the process, and he spent a lot of time working with the neighborhood leaders. I met with the neighborhood leaders, weekends, nights, whatever it took, and really listened to what would work in their community. I think an added value in this instance was the Phoenix Inn is still being used by the county for a COVID relief shelter for the homeless, people who are COVID positive. And the data showed that before the county took the hotel, there were a lot of criminal arrests and calls for service at the hotel. And then after the county took the hotel, where there were on-site people working with clients, on-site security, there were no calls, well, there were calls, but no arrests. So it was really looking at what is the neighborhood, what will they support, what is the program model, very, very critical. This is a closed campus model, and what are the needs of the population was a big part of it, being absolutely transparent with the neighbors, and then finding a location that would bring value and address blight in a community. The Phoenix Inn, thanks to the City of Phoenix, will also undertake a major renovation with landscaping and bring something to the community. And as Jeff Spellman said, the City of Phoenix being at the table to look at crime in the area as well was a big factor, and having a plan put together. So it's been a collaborative effort. I think there are other communities that want to do shelter models, and I think we have to look at shelter a little bit differently. These are facilities for displaced people. As we look at specialized models, having the municipal folks on the ground level involved, the neighborhood leaders, and the nonprofits all together has to be part of the trifecta to make it work.
Great, thank you for that, and I think that's key and important on making sure that we get our neighbors in the surrounding areas involved in the process, and making sure that they get to, because I believe that once the neighbors buy into the process and buy into what the changes that we want to make in the area, then they will stay involved. I know that Spencer spoke about the advisory committee. I think is key, making sure that we have an advisory committee that's coming together, that involves the neighbors, that involves the neighboring businesses in the area, that involves us as a city, and that involves different folks, to making sure that we are able to talk to each other about what's working, what's not working. And I know that there's also a plan that once Project Haven is up and running, this advisory board will continue to meet, and the neighbors will stay involved, which I think is what will make a huge difference. I want to applaud everyone who's deciding to have these type of facilities in their districts and in different parts of the city. I know that Councilwoman O'Brien is doing something for vets out in District 1. I know that we're talking about doing something in District 3, now in District 5. I know that there's other council members that are interested to partnering with other cities and seeing what is it that we can actually do. But I do agree that we do have to expand this to other parts of the city, not just in one part of the city. I would challenge all of our providers to look at different areas because the need is throughout the whole city. So with that, I want to thank everyone for all of their hard work and coming together and thinking in different ways on how is it that we help our folks that are experiencing homelessness, and how do we do it in such a way where we're able to get people back some independence and back into the workforce and back into the system with dignity and with respect. So with that, are there any other questions or comments? Okay, perfect. So this was just for information only. We will now move to another opportunity for the public to speak at today's meeting. Are there any cards or call to the public?
Madam Chair, we do not have any additional comments.
Thank you. And with that, do any of my colleagues have any items that they would like to add to the agenda for next month?
Not at this time.
Okay, perfect. So with that, that is the last item on today's agenda. I thank all of our city staff and community members who participated today. And with this, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.